We have a fully authentic stage, and the shows that are being presented tonight are basically a recreation of the Madison Square Garden shows that Led Zeppelin performed in 1973. Starting with the stage. Our stage is the exact same dimensions as the stage Led Zeppelin had at Madison Square Garden. The same rise, the same width, and the same depth. Our lighting grid is designed exactly after the Madison Square Garden lighting grid. The equipment, I smile every time I look at it because I still can't believe we managed to assemble this stage. Virtually none of this gear was produced after 1973. So this is Jimmy's main Marshall amp. This is a 1973 production, 1959 Super Lead 100 watt amp. Exactly the amp that Jimmy Page used on the stage at Madison Square Garden. His theremin is absolute correct vintage theremin. We have these Echoplex tape echo machines that actually have a tape cartridge in them, like an 8-track cartridge, quarter-inch tape, that is constantly spinning all the way through the show. So Jimmy's guitar goes into one, so one is his delay, the echo that he gets on his guitar, sort of the atmospheric sound. The other one is attached to the theremin, and when Jimmy's getting like really kind of far out noises from the theremin, he can manipulate the sound of it's hard to explain actually, you'll see him do it, but he's actually moving the tape head on the Echoplex machine as he's manipulating the theremin. Like, there is not an algorithm in sight on this stage. This is as organic as it gets. Yes. So George Fruis's drums, I'm just doing a little bit of research and setting this show up. Everyone says, oh yeah, John Bonham, Vista Light reproduction drums, that's what you get if you want to sound like Bonham. George's are actually custom made to more specific specifications of those Ludwig Vista Light reproduction drums. So they are exactly the same as John Bonham's drums in almost every respect. He told me that this cymbal is from 1972, and the reason he knows that is this exact model of cymbal was produced from 1972, and they didn't add serial numbers to them until 1973. This one doesn't have a serial number. Our acoustic bass amp here, this amp with a blue stripe on it. You often see these amps on like Led Zeppelin tribute act stages, and I do this in quotes because I don't think this is a tribute act. You see them on tribute act stages, but about 99% of the time they're actually recreations, they're not the real thing. They were very temperamental amps, super heavy, so they were often sort of dropped in transit. They were very problematic on the road, but when they worked, they sounded really good. This one is fully restored. Patrick Holder in the booth. Patrick restored this from the ground up. So we are running an acoustic bass amp that is going to drive Alexis's bass all the way through the show. And you'll notice the sound of this amp is different than any regular bass amp. The woofer in this amp is mounted in the middle and it fires backward, not forward. These amps, you can see the speakers in them fire forwards. These fire backwards because the baffles inside the amp are angled down at 45 degrees. So the sound within the cabinet itself goes up and goes down. So you feel it on the floor and you feel it atmospherically because it's an 18-inch woofer. It moves a lot of air. So that's something to listen to. That is something you cannot reproduce that feel with any other equipment. Over here, John Paul Jones had a 1966 Bandmaster head on a 15-inch Fender cabinet, bass cabinet actually, that he ran all of his amps through. So guess what? This is a 1966 Fender Bandmaster head, 15-inch cabinet. All the keyboards are going through. Often on old vintage stages, you would see multiple stacks, like Hendrix, The Who, all the classic rockers, like the Stones as well. The reason for that is not because they're actually driving all those speakers in most cases. They have them on the stage for redundancies because all of this gear, most of it is tube driven, and tubes are very temperamental, and the gear tends to shut down if it gets too hot. So we've got fans running on this gear, but in case anything shuts down, these are actually redundant. So Alexis might be bouncing back and forth. If you see him changing plugs or Tim's doing it for him, that's why. So Jimmy's got a couple redundant amps, Alexis does as well. Original 1973 production Fender Rhodes piano, exactly the same as John Paul Jones's. A Maestro phase shifter box for the effect on no quarter, actually produced in 1973, identical to John Paul Jones's. And finally, and a 1947 fog machine that we think might have been used at Madison Square Garden. Finally, we have the Mellotron. This Mellotron, there's a bit of a funny story to go with it. I knew that Lawrence Gowan apparently owned one, and I called him up because he's been here before actually. Great guy. I said, Lawrence, I know you won't lend me your old Mellotron, but don't you want a new one? Because the new ones they have samples of the original tape loops that were in the original Mellotrons, which were actual tape heads that connected to the keys. So when you pressed a key on an original Mellotron, a tape head engaged, and you would hear whatever was recorded on the tape per key. Like it's like the ultimate analog sampler, but really sort of rickety machines. So Lawrence said, okay, keep talking. And I said, if you could order the machine and just have it shipped to me, we'll try it out on stage for a few nights in the show, and then I could deliver it to you. And he said, okay. So we have a little bit of Lawrence Gowan here on the stage, and I always look at that and think about him, and I always think, man, if only Lawrence Gowan would just appear from stage right and play Strawberry Fields Forever. That's been a dream of mine.
So Gowan is my name. I play in a band called Gowan. I'm going to try a little bit of my Japanese. Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Every night I get a chance to sing a song that goes, Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Mata oimate. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Himitsu o shiritai. So maybe, perhaps one day you'll explain what that means. But as I said to Mr. Jimmy this afternoon, Nihongo muju kashi desu. I mean, Japanese is hard to speak. Anyway, so I saw the sound check here this afternoon. I did not want to miss this show. I'm going to say that, Chris pointed this out. There are tribute bands, but this is a completely different level entirely. A great rock show is the greatest form of entertainment that I've ever encountered in my life, because it stays with you for years and years to come until you see that band again, and you're going to want to see this band again. The song remains the same, from 1973. I saw that movie. I never saw Led Zeppelin live. I've only ever met one member, that being Robert Plant. But tonight, first of all, you're going to see a band that looks a lot better than Led Zeppelin looked today, but have replicated to such a fine degree exactly as Chris explained with the gear. But when you hear these players, they've replicated exactly that work. And after all, rock music, classic rock, Led Zeppelin, is the great musical statement of the last half of the 20th century. Much as the same as the London Symphony 200 years ago played Beethoven, the London Symphony today still plays Beethoven. And it's authentic, okay? This is not a tribute thing. This is exactly what's going to happen on this stage tonight. And when you hear it, it'll be the closest thing you could possibly get to actually hearing Led Zeppelin in 1973 on The Song Remains the Same. The difference being, they played 3 nights at Madison Square Garden. Tonight you're getting night number 4. So, thanks for listening. We say that again. So I'm going to introduce, we're going to say, it's George Flutis on the drums. Fantastic. August Young on vocals. Alexis Angel on keyboards and bass guitar. And fog machine. And, of course, Akil, Mr. Jimmy, who will blow your minds. You ready to rock?